Alrighty, a very, very happy Tuesday and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is February 24th of 2025. I want to welcome everyone in here for another show. You know, Getting used to broadcasting live once again on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're getting this at, whether you're still listening to our audio platform, we thank you and we welcome you. Look, I for if you guys are watching this for the very first time, we talk about Cincinnati sports, we talk about baseball, talk about football. We try to do our best providing news stories, updates in the sports world, and we talk about professional wrestling. WrestleMania season's on the way. A big like, share, and subscribe would help our channel out as we stream across our Facebook page, our YouTube page. Want to get people connected, want to get you engaged. Let's chat it up some sports. Let me know what you guys think here and or think about these stories. And I want to have a good time. That's what this show's all about. So, we're going to talk about everything that's going on the channel, but a big like, share, and subscribe helps out a lot. Also, if you like not only to subscribe, but to um, sign up for our premium plan, you could get shout outs on our channel. We love to recognize you, and it would only help support, being able to do this. Um, you know, Maybe the stream that we use, whatever it costs. So that would only be grateful for you if you guys could help support the channel and become a Patreon for our our podcast and what we do here. Alrighty, so the Reds had yesterday off. They're back at it again. We'll talk some Reds baseball here, get you down updated to the news and what's going on in Cincinnati in the sports. We'll talk Monday Night Raw here earlier about what took place last night. A couple intriguing things as we learn who Liv Morgan decided to face at WrestleMania. Also, Gunther is continuing his this great heel push as he was escorted out of the arena and Brock Lesnar made his appearance and AJ Styles was celebrated for his WWE career on Raw last night. But I wanted to jump down into a conversation and kind of just an up-to-date status with what's going on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I like to invite you guys over there. It is a combination of this podcast that we post here on a daily basis. And it is also a gaming channel providing sports related gaming content within my realm here. I kind of focus on baseball and football and just kind of want to give you a rundown and get you caught up to date with that because we have shifted into the new baseball season, and if you've followed the gaming channel for the past couple of years for us, it has really supported and grown our channel to what it is today. And so I only feel like providing 5-10 minutes, giving you an update with what's going on the channel is warranted. So if this is not your cup of tea, I'll see you in the back in 15 minutes. So spring training has started. And I decided we're going to give you AI computer versus computer simulations throughout the course of spring training. Now, a lot of people, hey, spring training, what's the big deal? Well, for me, it's also just like the players and the umpires and the coaches. It kind of gets you back into the swing of things. Well, it's going to give me an idea of how to balance out the show and the gaming world when it comes down to the new video game that's coming out in the middle of March. So I've decided I'm going to give you selective dates where I'm giving you computer versus computer, just entertainment, maybe games of the week, games that I think will be interesting that people would want to watch. If you guys have specific games throughout the course of the season that hey, a CPU versus CPU simulation would work, let me know down in the comments. I'll be able to uh, take those suggestions and hopefully put them on our channel, right? So while doing that, I want to play, my comfort of tea, the the franchise mode series for the Cincinnati Reds, right? We're near to, in Cincinnati. We are talking about the Reds on our show. Well, we're gonna stay local. So I've decided to take you through the course of the year, and we're gonna start you off at spring training. Spring training just started back last year. Now, the new video game is not out yet, right? Middle of March. Well, that doesn't mean we can't continue to put content together and get ourselves situated. So I have taken the best roster I could possibly provide and apply it to the 2025 MLB The Show. And so we are playing spring training from last year's spring training schedule. When that is done, we are going to then, well, the goal is to have all the games at least played before the new game comes out. Because when that is done, we are going to go and play and jump into the new season. So on a daily, we're going to follow the Cincinnati Reds schedule. We are going to then on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays give you primetime marquee matchup games for computer versus computer. And that's kind of how the gaming channel is going to continue on the TNC Sports Talk. So if you guys have paid attention, followed along, I appreciate it. We started off last Thursday, I believe, the 19th. Yep. We had the Cubs versus the Dodgers. We had a doubleheader on Friday where the Rays took on the Yankees and the Mariners took on the Padres. On Saturday, we had another doubleheader as the Houston Astros took on the Mets while the Reds had their spring training road opener against the Milwaukee Brewers. And don't ask me why that schedule's like that, because normally the Reds play the Cleveland Guardians. That's just how last year's spring training went. On Sunday, we had a doubleheader of the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Boston Red Sox. And then in the follow-up game, the Reds took on the Giants. And yesterday, you guys saw on the channel, the Dodgers taking on the Reds. Now, a couple things I just kind of want to reiterate to keep in mind. One, the roster is not completely ideal to what we would expect to see today. And what I mean by that is that I've made some changes. So, for example, I have Miguel Andujar beginning spring training. You saw him in the lineup, I think. Where did you see him yesterday? Let me check that out because I've taken notes for who's been entered in. Yeah, you saw him yesterday in the game. I also have, but I have Caleb Ferguson, Pierce Johnson, Jose Trevino, Eugenio Suarez, picked up Luis Rengifo. The updated roster that was provided still gave me Santiago Espinal. Now, it doesn't mean that those are going to be my marquee matchups. Those are just guys that I'm willing to use. And throughout the course of spring training, I'm going to make adjustments, maybe release some players, maybe trade them away. But I'm doing the concept is to try to make it almost as realistic, ideal as possible to what the Reds have. Unfortunately, I've had to add a player or two that I felt would have been ideal for the Reds. So, but I just, this is how the dynamic has gone. So today we, according to the spring training schedule, we have the day off. We'll be back tomorrow in spring training action. This does not reflect the regular season, what we see in 2026. And I have my own different concept of how I, want to give you this spring training, right? There's different parts of spring training that we look at to get players ready. So for me, I kind of push towards our starters playing or pitching 3 innings if possible, probably in the first outing about no more than 50 pitches and so on and so forth, right? And then I would select a backup starter to go at least an inning, if not two, if possible, before I officially get into my bullpen. Now that backup starter will also kind of jump down to, in a sense, I don't know, let's say, it's a dynamic, right? So I was actually playing with this the other day. Every starter that I expect to have on my major league roster will have about 4 starts in spring training. For official starts, and then our backup rosters maybe starting pitchers that are expected to fight for the rotation, Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, Brennan Williamson, they'll have 2 to 3 starts and then substitute, right? The other days, either one's going to have a rotation off or they'll have a pitch as the backup for one of the days of this week, kind of trying to balance that out. And then I threw in Graham Ashcraft and Colin Phillips for maybe bullpen days as well. Um, so that will be interesting to play out. I'm working on seeing how exactly I want the position players to go, right? And so this is just kind of a learning curve, and you're gonna get a little bit of everything in my little take on spring training, and it's not really much to go off of because we only go off of a 40-man roster, but it's still something that we can go off of. So far, the Cincinnati Reds, they picked up a victory yesterday, beating the Dodgers in a final score. What was that? 2-1, 9-1? Really? Okay. Well, they are moved to 3-0 on spring training. The next matchup is tomorrow. That's their next game, as they will take on the Angels. And the other thing to know, just to kind of keep things fragrant and the new images are different. What I've done for stadium concepts was I've taken the Major League Baseball team's home team. I've taken their AAA affiliates stadium that they would play in the game, and that's the stadium that they'd play at. So for the Cincinnati Reds, it's the majestic, I think the Green Valley, right? The Green Valley Stadium. The Angels coming up tomorrow is the Laughing Mountain Stadium. And so it kind of gives us a different scenery compared to what we see typically in um the video game where there's just a cactus league and a grapefruit league, and the stadiums aren't bad, but I got to be honest with you, it's not really something that I can't play every spring training game on. So that is the rundown, and I do my best to keep everything up to date. Spend just a few minutes. I don't want to bore you guys to death, but if you guys are watching it, I appreciate your support. I appreciate um your commitment to it. I'm open for suggestions. I'm open for conversations of how to make it better. I have tried to do some some overlay interactions. I'm not the type capable person to be able to do it. And I've tried, and if you have tips, tricks, anything to help me out, please let me know because I want to make it something more engaging for people, but I want to have my own twist to it. And this twist kind of keeps you throughout the course of the Major League Baseball season. Now, also, the other thing to note of the new video game that's coming out, hopefully, depending on how much time I have in my free time, we are also expected to maybe do a little bit of road to the show, get your take and opinions on how that works. So, let me know, but I will give you some of that content, maybe play a series. The only thing I don't like about it, and maybe they'll change it this year, let me know, is I wanna have fun playing it, right? I'm not gonna be on expert mode or legend mode. I don't feel like that is ideal. I wanna be on a simple mode that provides just a little bit of challenge, but I can have fun. But I also wanna make it to the big leagues as soon as possible. I mean, I don't wanna play 2, 3, 4 season or, a season or 2 down in the minors and then go through the whole process. So, I don't know. I will see how that goes. Um, excuse me. But, anyways, we will give you up to date information as that comes. I'd like to take this moment and give a shout out to Riverside FM for this streaming app that we record and live stream to you. Riverside FM is a online serviceable streaming provider. Allows you to record, create podcast videos, allows you to edit those podcast videos, and also creates magic clips, short videos that would from the videos that you've created. Also allows us to go live, as you can see us on our Facebook and YouTube page. Hello there. So, if you guys are looking for a streaming service for your own podcast, your own videos, whatever you decide that you want to record, and you could download and edit the video version, just the audio version, whatever it may be, I would recommend giving Riverside FM a trial and see how you like it. And there's a lot of different services out there. I've been through a few of them. This is not an endorsement through Riverside. I just feel like it's necessary to give them a shout out as we are using their service in appreciation. Now, if they would like to sponsor our show, they're more than willing to reach out to me and let me know, and I'll be more than willing to have those conversations and do a whole promotional spiel. But this is just a simple thank you for the providing a service that is easy for me. It does take away, our uh, content creating is formed into how would I want to say it? Has formed into short videos, right? Maybe you want to have this video on in the background, and that's fine, but people gravitate to engaging videos and shorts and all that fun stuff. So, um, Riverside FM helps with that, makes my work a lot easier. So, I really do appreciate what they're doing. So, thank you. All right, what is going on today in the sports of Cincinnati? Well, I got baseball, and basketball. Well, I swear to you, when I saw the schedule for the Bearcats' next game, it said today. It said Tuesday. But when I looked at it to confirm it tonight, this morning, taking my notes, it shows that their home opener against Bowling Green is for tomorrow. So I don't know if it changed. Maybe I read it wrong or if they changed it throughout the day. I didn't see any updates to it. But the Bearcats home opener at UC Baseball Stadium is not today. It's tomorrow at 3 p.m., February 25th. So if you're looking to go out tomorrow, if you got nothing to do, I encourage you to go out and check out the Bearcats baseball. It's gonna. I love college baseball. I think it's great. It's kind of, it is more of a patience game. And one thing that sucks is the cold really gets us. Maybe they pushed it back because of how cold it is, but you know, they're gonna have a game tomorrow. They're going against Bowling Green Falcons. Bowling Green Falcons are 1-5. Cincinnati Bearcats are 5-3. And the Bearcats coming off of a 2-2 on a 4-game series split against UAB over the weekend. They won Saturday and Sunday, so they're on a 2-game winning streak, looking to make that 3 in a row. And yeah, if not, you could check the game out on ESPN. And that's a game I'm looking to at least tune into bits and pieces of it if I can tomorrow. So Cincinnati Bearcats baseball, let's check them out and support them. But the Cincinnati Reds are back at it. They are off. They were off yesterday. They had a couple games over the weekend, and they didn't quite do so well. And we just got to remember it's spring training, right? But they're back at it at Goodyear Ballpark in Goodyear, Arizona, as they will host the Kansas City Royals, who come in with a 2-2 record. Is it a 2-2 record? Is that what it? Did I get that wrong? I probably did get it wrong. Yeah, no, they're 2-2 record. The Reds have not won a spring training game yet. They're 0-2, and the Royals will have right-handed pitcher Michael Wacha on the mound. Michael Wacha, right-handed pitcher. First spring training outing. I was along with the Cincinnati Reds for Andrew Abbott. We'll see him on the mound today. And Kansas City has their lineups already released. I haven't seen the Cincinnati Reds lineup released yet. So we will kind of wait and maybe check in towards the end of the day of this program and see if they have updated it so we could reveal it to you. I mean, otherwise, the Reds are beginning they host the Royals, then they'll take on the White Sox before hosting 2 games at Goodyear against the Padres and the Angels before playing the Brewers this week. And then the Athletics, and then they would have the Cubs. So it'd be a week from today before their next day off. And then they really don't have another day off for about, let's say, about 2-3 weeks to say 3 weeks. I will say 3 weeks. And we'll be basically that's the only days off before spring training ends. They got the World Baseball Classic exhibition game next Wednesday against Cuba. That'll be at 3:05. And then the Reds also will have 2 games against in a split decision, one on March 8th, and actually 3, and then the other on March 13th, and then the third one on March 18th. And then they wrap up spring training on the road at the American Family Field against the Milwaukee Brewers on the 23rd and 24th, which is a Monday or Tuesday, before coming home and opening up against the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. So I know things are different. I kind of wish that they wrap up spring training either at Great American Ballpark or up there at Progressive Field against Cleveland. But that's the schedule that they have. Andrew Abbott, like I mentioned, it will be on the mound today. We'll see him for the first time this spring training. Expect him maybe to go about 2 innings at least. I like to see 2 innings out of him. And just kind of get the momentum going in for this week and everything that is set to come here this spring. So, Reds baseball is back at it. And then we have tonight the Cincinnati Bearcats basketball team will be out there in Texas as they get ready to take on Texas Tech Red Raiders, who enter play with a 20-7 record. They have a 10-4 record in conference action. Bearcats enter in with a 15-12 record with a 7-7 conference action. Texas Tech is ranked number 16th. They are 13-1 at home. And that's the challenge that we're going to have to face. The Red Raiders beat K-State over the weekend 100-72, as still the Bearcats had an impressive victory over Kansas over the weekend, 84-68. The Cincinnati Bearcats basketball team only has 2 more games after this to wrap up their season before March Madness. They will have a game on Saturday, February 28th against Oklahoma, and on March 3rd against number 19 BYU. Both games are at home, so at least the Bearcats will wrap up the season at home. But the Bearcats have 3 games they got to conquer and have success at, and the next 2 games are not going to be an easy, friendly challenge, in my opinion. So Bearcats have their work cut out for them here tonight. They will be on the road. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. You can watch it either on Fubo TV or on ESPN2, wherever you get your streaming providers from. All right. I was kind of looking into some of the red stories that was making headlines earlier today. Wanted to kind of share with you an article kind of written by Drew Koch. It was just released earlier this morning. We'll read it for the first time together. It's on the blog redsmachine.com. One of the sources that I've seen here provides pretty good information. It's about Nick Lodolo and who he could possibly see in the World's Baseball Classic dreams fulfilled after Tariq Schoolball's decision. And that's kind of been one of the conversations heading into the World Baseball Classic this year. Either players did not get accepted for insurance, therefore could not play, or players do not play because either teams have asked them not to or they don't want to risk injury. Ellie De La Cruz was kindly asked earlier this winter not to participate in this year's World Baseball Classic. And he accepted. We don't want him to get injured. And although I think it is great to represent your team, especially after we watched the Winter Olympics earlier this year, I feel that there is a fine line. I wouldn't want to go send a starter out there and, I don't know what their work has been going on. I don't know what type of practice or work they've been going on for the last couple of months into heading into this, right? And so when you come out of the winter time where we really don't know the whereabouts, how much conditioning, how much they've stayed in shape, and sure, I know that they stay in shape, to get ready for the season. They're not coming in, having to retrain themselves to get themselves into shape. They have stayed active throughout wintertime, and I get that. But realistically, you don't know how much work. We see the work done at spring training, and you ask yourself, did February 19th, which was just 5 days ago, is that enough time to, was it not the 19th, February 11th, 2 weeks ago, was that enough time for a Major League Baseball player to come into spring training, work, and get ready into enough shape so that they could play 2 to 3 weeks of the World Baseball Classic tournament? And for me, I linger the question that you can risk injuries, major injuries, because every country plays just a little bit different than typical. So, I think it's a great thing to represent. We'll look at Team USA's roster and we can only recognize all the names and the glory, and we hope that Team USA wins. But I hope one of the biggest fears I have is them being healthy, right? Playing at stadiums that are well taken care of, playing, safely, not so much worried about a win or loss compared to playing just being healthy back, because it's going to affect your team at the end of the day. If you get hurt and you're out come opening day, you come out for any length, especially there's teams out here that needs all their players full year round. We talk about the Reds all the time. They need their players all year around. And sometimes if you get hurt, just imagine opening day without Ellie De La Cruz. Just imagine missing the first 3 months of the season without Hunter Green. Just imagine missing out the entire year without our closer. So I have the cross takes on all of that. But Nick Lodolo has an opportunity to represent Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. According to Bob Nightingale, Tariq Schoolball is taking a one-and-done approach to this year's Classic, as the Detroit Tigers ace will only make one start for Team USA and then return to spring camp. Schoolball scheduled to start the Team USA second game of the World Baseball Classic against Great Britain, which will be on March 7th. Needless to say, and this is where I would honestly understand, Schoolball is worried about, you're the Detroit Tigers. You just picked up Framber Valdez. You just signed Justin Verlander back to your organization. You have yourself a solid rotation. And if you're Tariq Schoolball, who decided, hey, he didn't get traded. He's with the organization. This is probably, is this a contract year for Schoolball? I don't know. But if this is, he needs to have an impressive year so he could get paid next year. And there's a lot of teams eyeballing Schoolball this year. So is the one and done approach, at least on a pitching perspective, valid? Well, needless to say, an overwhelming majority of baseball fans are upset that Schoolball's decision, having just watched the United States hockey team win, right, both men and women, that's a well accomplishment. But here's the thing about the USA men's hockey team. If I'm not mistaken, okay, and matter of fact, let me search it up. So I want to make sure I'm validated on this. So the NHL, here's the difference. The NHL paused the 2025-2026 season for nearly 3 weeks to allow players to participate in this year's Winter Olympics. The break lasted from February 6th and it ended today. So I think they return back to play tomorrow. Okay? So when you're talking about, yes, it's exciting to watch the USA hockey team win gold, and they had an exciting run, and the women's also had an exciting run. That's fine and all. But in reality, when you saw those players, the season didn't progress. It stopped. It's also during a season that they naturally play in. They play indoors, they play on the ice, they play in a colder weather, colder atmosphere. It is adequate for them. They've already played a handful of games since October. They played majority of the season since last fall. And instead of this whole maybe all-star, right, where they get this break, they get 3 weeks so that they could go represent their team. There would be a different story if maybe the World Baseball Classic happens in July, where baseball anticipates that a 3-week span says, all right, we're going to shorten spring training, bump up the regular season start date so that we can give our Major League Baseball players 3 weeks in July where there's no baseball in the U.S., and then then the World Baseball Classic takes place. So if you are a fan who is upset with the decision that Tariq Schoolball has made about a one-and-done deal, is that really an unethical approach? I mentioned this a few minutes ago. We don't know how Tariq Schoolball prepared for coming into spring. I know he's active. I know he was in the weight room or doing something along the line of staying healthy or getting fit or whatnot. These players do. I get that. But is that suitable enough to go out there and play 3 weeks risking that injury? And so there's a part of me that sits here and asks myself, I mean, I don't mind that decision. At least he's going to partake in it. But his decision is to focus on his season to come with the Tigers. And the last thing you need as a Detroit fan, how furious would the Detroit Tigers be as a fan base if Screwball goes out there and pitches more than one outing and he gets hurt and needs Tommy John surgery, he's going to be out for a year? I'd be livid. I'm going to be the same way here. Cincinnati Reds pitcher Nick Lodolo. This has a potential opportunity to open up a position for Nick Lodolo to fulfill his WBC dreams. According to Cincinnati reporter Charlie Goldsmith, Team USA has approached both Lodolo and Hunter Green about joining the squad. Green turned down the opportunity, citing his comment to the Reds organization, but Lodolo showed his desire to pitch. Yes, I would love Lodolo or Hunter Green to represent Team USA, especially if you could have an outing. And this is all a risk, right? There's a chance that, you know what, we're going to be perfectly fine. Everyone's going to stay healthy. It's not going to affect you, your health, or your ability to head into the season. But Lodolo spoke to Reds manager Terry Francona about this yearning to pitch for Team USA, but it would appear that Tito talked him out of participating in the WBC. Francona told him, "If you're dying to do it, I'll support you. I'm just worried. I've seen guys come back and they're not the same." That's very true. Baseball on the fact that Lodolo was not named Team USA roster, it would seem that Francona's word of wisdom stuck. But with Screwball only making an abbreviated start before getting back to Florida, the Tigers' spring camp, one was to wonder if the Reds lefty will receive another pitch call from Team USA manager Mark DeRosa. Francona's objection to Lodolo pitching in the WBC is not without a sound reason. The environment of the World Baseball Classic is unlike anything these players really ever experience. Representing your country is a biggest stage and can cause certain players to be overextended themselves during the heat of the moment, maybe an injury prone to the pitcher like Lodolo. That can be a receipt of disaster. And it is true. I'm not sugarcoating it. Like it is a risk, but there is a lot of responsibility. Like, just imagine the toll it took on these players mentally to travel over to a different country, adjust to their time cards, adjust to their, whatever is given in front of them to play all these games at weird time frames, and how they're going to adapt coming back to the States and resuming hockey tomorrow. However, former Major League pitcher Lance Lynn doesn't see viewing pitching in the WBC an enhanced injury risk. I mean, that's just opinion. This is my opinion, honestly. Could risk of injury prevail? Yes. Could it change you? Especially if you go out there and you have a bad outing, you're doing this in front, representing Team USA, something that's not going to be forgotten about anytime soon. So, I mean, I'm going to be frank with you for a moment. I'm a little bit in crossroads. If Nick Lodolo gets the opportunity to represent Team USA in this year's Winter Olympics, should he take that and go on and pitch in the Winter Olympics? Or should he focus on the Cincinnati Reds? And to me, I feel like the clear answer is you kind of have to stay focused. As much as I would love you to, this organization, cannot survive. Although that he's not our best pitcher on the rotation, he will not survive in the Major League, on the injury list. Our Reds team will not survive getting back to the playoffs without Nick Lodolo. We're already battling for fifth spot, and I don't think we want to add any more to the conundrum. So, to me, I say no. I would have to decide for Terry Francona only because this isn't our Reds team is not the Dodgers. Let's go send the entire Dodgers team to represent Team USA. I feel like that's good enough. That's right. Um, but the Dodgers can afford somebody to get hurt and still have talent to spare. We're kind of scarce on that talent, if you know what I mean. Alrighty, before we get into our next segment here, just want to talk a little bit about Grassroots coming up, presented by Enlightened Studios this Friday, February 27th, and it will go on through March 8th. There are 8 performances between now and then for this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. First one being on a Friday at 7 o'clock. Then we have a doubleheader on Saturday at 2 p.m. and at 7 p.m., and then one on Sunday at 2 p.m. And then the same schedule for next weekend. Come check out an abrasive performance written and directed by Terry Chappell II as he tells a story along the Black History Month when when a black family moves into an all-white neighborhood and experiences truth, racism, spiritual implement. There's so many things that go on. They're at tech rehearsal right now. I'm part of the team, part of the sound and tech crew, and I can't be excited about this team. They've gotten these lines. The hype just to talk about it. They've gotten these lines from day one. They've gotten everything down to T. They're in there, and it's flawless. Okay, Archville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio. You can get your tickets today. Save a little money. Save a little bit of money and get your tickets by going online by visiting tickettailor.com. A link will be provided in the description below for your needs. I also like to invite you to check out Enlightened Studios podcast channel called Light in the City, where me, yourself, and Brittany Brown host his podcast series of Enlightened Studios and Performing Arts in Cincinnati, Ohio. I provide a weekly update, news, and current events of what is going on with Enlightened Studios and around Cincinnati. Also taking a look at events as they have Grassroots coming up. The Fresh Vision Showcase is coming up on March 22nd. We'll get into a little bit of that on a later date. And then they also have what's going on in the Cincinnati Public Libraries. I did not know. That is one of the most intriguing things I've learned here over the past few weeks is that the Cincinnati libraries, they have countless of things going on that is educational, that's fun for kids, young teens, and adults, and that could keep you active if you're not doing anything. I was just out at the, I think it wasn't Mount Washington. They had their reopening, and I was out there just experiencing, and I'm like, for the community to have a renovated library for them, I thought that was just amazing to experience. The community have came together. We saw mayors and congressmen and women, and the district, and people came from out of town just for this opening. I'm just like, just a small city coming together to celebrate a little piece of what, how they can unite. I'm like, that's a great, great texture to them. So kudos to them. But you can check all that out by visiting our Enlightened Studios podcast channel, Light in the City. The podcast I host is called The Enlightened Express. And throughout the course of this year, as Enlightened Studios continues to grow, we have a little bit more coming your way. So stay tuned for more information. So Monday Night Raw had a pretty big, I'm going to say pretty big card. A lot of things going on within that duration. And they had, and I kind of want to just walk you through what they had and then share with you the results and then my take. So as we announced yesterday, Raw last night, which was in Atlanta, Georgia, was tributing AJ Styles and his career as he's retiring from WWE from the WWE at least, right? We're uncertain if he's officially done wrestling altogether. There's been conversations that he wants to wrestle if his children grow up to be professional wrestlers, and sure, I'm okay with that. But majority of the part, he's at the point of his life where he is done he is ready to move on. Well, they gave him a tribute all night long. Brock Lesnar was making an appearance along with CM Punk and Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was also scheduled to announce her WrestleMania opponent. She's the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble winner. Then we had 2 Elimination Chamber matches, qualifying matches, as Jey Uso was to take on the original El Grande Americano and Bronson Reed, while Io Sky was scheduled to take on Kairi Sane and Raquel Rodriguez. So the night opened up, which I found a little bit interesting because it kind of had a couple of segments before their first match. But, you know, Corey Graves and Michael Cole started off in the ring talking about the tribute to AJ Styles before they were interrupted by Gunther, who was really just taunting and working the crowd, as he was the one who retired AJ Styles back at the Royal Rumble. Adam Pearce ordered him out of the arena, and, Gunther was just continuing to taunt, and he was approached and attacked by Dragon Lee. And this seems to be going on. I can only assume a future match down the road, but this kind of then led into Jey Uso coming out and all that fun stuff. So, for me, I think this is just another great, slow processed work for Gunther as this big heel turn. And well, not just heel turn, but to grow on TV. And I think I like it. It works the crowd, it infuriates the audience, right? I think that's one thing we missed. I miss the most when it really gets over by the crowd. Then it really comes to perspective that, we have, then you're getting over, right? Dominic Mysterio, for example, when you get the crowd so infuriated that every time your music plays or your name is mentioned, the crowd goes crazy and they hate you like that, man, you're doing something right. Well, this leads to Cody Rhodes making his way to the ring before he was interrupted by the Vision, which then led to the Jey Uso coming out in the opening match between Jey Uso, El Grande Americano, and Bronson Reed. I predicted that El Grande was going to win. Now, I'm going to be honest, that came prematurely because I didn't really quite pay attention to who else is in the Elimination Chamber. We got Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Jey Uso comes away and picks up the victory. So, look, now we will see LA Knight, Randy Orton. We will see Javon Evans, Trick Williams. Who else do we have? Man, but Elimination Chamber is coming to be stacked, and Jey Uso pinned Americano. And it looks like we'll have to get back with you. Maybe Bronson Reed got hurt and dealing with the shoulder injury. I don't know. We'll get you an update. Here we go. It was later revealed that Bronson Reed suffered a torn bicep. Man, so we wish Bronson Reed a speedy recovery, but man, this is actually another blow we could talk later this week for the Vision. That's another member out. That's a big member out, right? So how do you face? Well, Raw continues to move on as Liv Morgan makes her decision, and it ends up doing it by attacking Stephanie Valkyrie, beating her down, and then raises that women's world heavyweight championship. So at WrestleMania 42, Liv Morgan will challenge Stephanie Valkyrie for the title. And this was kind of in set as Stephanie kind of started apologizing, claimed that WrestleMania 42 is about telling her story, and kind of made people feel a little bit sympathetic about that, right? Maxine took on Natalia. They fought into a double countout back on February 9th. Natalia attacked Dupree from the opening bell. The Queen of Hearts beat her former protege down before taking the match to the floor. And The referee called for the bell. So this was Natty defeats Dupree via a referee stoppage. Hopefully, this is the end to me, to be honest. Brock Lesnar returns with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman abruptly announces that Brock Lesnar will be at WrestleMania 42, and he is waiting for an opponent, for someone in the locker room to step up and to make claim for this beast incarnate, the one who defeated and ended The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak and all of his accomplishments. He is the guy to beat. And it was almost as if Paul Heyman was painting this picture that, Brock Lesnar is at the point of his career, which we already know, that we're waiting for the next, he has nothing else that he needs to accomplish. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, I think, in my opinion. But hey, who wants to step up and dare to challenge or accept the challenge of Brock Lesnar? And then they revealed a handful of dates between now and WrestleMania that Brock Lesnar is going to attend and wait for an opponent. I want to reveal that for you. So, obviously, last night in Atlanta, on March 16th in San Antonio, on March 23rd in Boston, on March 30th in New York City, on April 6th in Houston, on April 13th in Sacramento. So that's his appearance dates. And between now and then, he's going to come out and he's going to wait for another challenger. And Paul Heyman also shared a spoiler claiming that he is going to win. And whoever accepts is going to fall victimized to Brock Lesnar. Well, then Javon Evans defeats Kofi Kingston in singles competition. CM Punk cuts a promo last night as he's preparing to face Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship at Elimination Chamber. He also speaks about Roman Reigns and his opponent if he remains champion heading into Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. The Best of the World says, well, what if? Echoing Balor's earlier promo while admitting that he does not deal with the what ifs because they are not rooted in reality. He teased punching Reigns in the face next week in Indianapolis when the OTC is on Raw, reiterating that he is the best. At the end of the promo, he ended up throwing the microphone. So, solid promo. But then we had the Women's Elimination Chamber qualifying match as Io Sky took on Kairi Sane and Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel defeated Sky and Sane. So we know that reality, that in hindsight, that Liv Morgan will face Stephanie Valkyrie. Roman Reigns will face CM Punk of the World Heavyweight Championship, which means the winner of the men and women's Elimination Chamber matches this Saturday will go on to face Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship and go on to face Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Another tribute to AJ Styles was the main event of Raw. Well, not the main event of Raw. Well, yeah, it was. And moments of tribute packages and all that fun stuff. AJ Styles comes out. He recalls the time with TNA and Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Frankie Kazarian, and the rest of the Revolutionary roster. He recalled meeting Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson in New Japan, Pro Wrestling, and the number of legendary competitors he shared the ring with in the WWE. The Phenomenal One ended up thanking his wife, his children at ringside, and then revealed the reason why he did not leave his gloves in the ring at the Royal Rumble was because he wanted to bring them back to Atlanta and leave them at home. As he took his final bow, a roster spilled into the stage, applauding the former WWE champion. Lights dimmed as The Undertaker made his way out to the ring, coming face to face with his WrestleMania 36 opponent, which was The Undertaker's last opponent. The Dead Man introduced Styles as the latest inductee into the 2026 WWE Hall of Fame, and the Phenomenal One celebrates with his family to close out the show. So kind of little icing on the cake here, right? We'll probably get into a segment tomorrow talking about AJ Styles' career. And I think it was great to at least have a tribute for him. So I think that was great. And the Raw was pretty good. Like I said, we're just less than 2 months away from WrestleMania. So matches really need to start coming on the card here very quickly. We already know about the drought that they have selling tickets, and we need to start picking that up if you're the WWE. All right, the Cincinnati Reds have released their starting lineup for today. We'll see starting off, leading first, batting the DH spot, TJ Friedl. Matt McClain at second base, batting second. Ellie De La Cruz batting third at shortstop. Eugenio Suarez batting cleanup, playing third base. At first base will be Spencer Steer. At left field will be Will Benson. Tyler Stevenson will do the catching position. He'll be batting seventh. Noelvi Marte will be in right field and batting eighth. And in center field will be Dane Myers. I think this is more of a typical lineup. As I mentioned yesterday, I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit, I guess, optimistic of seeing that opening day lineup that they had against the Guardians back on Saturday. I was like, man, what are we doing here? This does not really seem ideal. And I was honestly maybe expecting Terry Francona to have a little bit more of those shakeups, but this seems a little bit more of an ideal lineup for the Reds. We see Suarez back at third, which could be very well a possibility. I know one of the conversations prior to spring training was who was going to take over at third base. And, the question was maybe putting Key Brian Hayes coming off the bench. And right now, it doesn't seem like Key Brian Hayes. He may get a little later start, maybe working at his craft. But we're getting Suarez a good amount of time at third base. And so that's something to take a note for early on in this spring. Nothing, otherwise it's typical, I think. You're getting TJ Friedl the day off to play at outfield, and you get him the chance to hit. You get a couple of these at-bats going, and it doesn't seem like we're phased, right, with Andrew Abbott on the mound. I feel like we're going to get a good solid 4 or 5 innings. It becomes a real ball game, but then I feel like things start slipping away, and I would like to start watching things tighten up here very soon, because games, even in our secondaries, our players who are replacing, when we get to the bullpen and we get to positions, we need to continue that offensive power, right? Even late in the game, it doesn't matter who comes up to bat. We also need to continue our bullpen succession, right? We can't fall in the late innings, and that says a lot because these are our next guys expected to come up and be on the, roster if one of our current spots is taken due to an injury. So, but that is today's starting lineup. The Reds play the Royals at 3:00, and that is all the time I have for you guys in today's episode. I want to thank everyone for watching and tuning in. Please be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. You could also follow us on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and then you also follow us and listen to us on the road, in the gym, at home, in the office, wherever you get your podcasting needs on. The TNC Sports Talk is there, and if we're not there, please let us know. We will get on there. We will be back again tomorrow at noon to recap the Reds game, baseball game, the Bearcats basketball game for taking on Texas Tech, and much more conversations lie ahead. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until tomorrow, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.